In this work, we investigated how data scientists navigate their relationships with colleagues and clients. Data science work can be very creative, especially in the sciences, where new theories are being formed and the scope of data work that needs to be done can be very fluid. There has been a big emphasis on understanding data scientists' technical workflow, but comparatively little has been studied about the work that data scientists need to do outside of the technical aspects of their work. Specifically, we're interested in how do data scientists find common ground with their colleagues? Are data scientists and their colleagues even speaking the same language? How do people within an organization know what kinds of problems they can bring to data scientists? How do data scientists and their colleagues co-create and operationalize analysis problems? How do people perceive data scientists' technical work? And how do data scientists deal with being the bearer of bad news? In other words, how do data scientists help their colleagues cope with analysis results? To explore these questions, we interviewed 10 data scientists who each had many years of experience working in a consulting role, either as an independent consultant or with a larger organization. These participants worked in many different settings, including in healthcare, in government, and at startups and large corporations. We tried to get the widest variety of participants as we could, so we could identify common themes from their interviews that could be more generalizable across fields. Based on these interviews, we came up with this outer loop workflow illustrating the social and emotional work that consulting data scientists often need to engage with. Let's walk through it. We start with groundwork, building trust and reputation with potential clients. The way to build this trust is to have a proven track record of doing high quality work and accruing social capital within the organization or broader data science community. As P5 explains, I think that it was really important to have built up credibility, like an institutional reputation. So people believed that there were a lot of things I was right about before, or I had given an answer to that people had believed and made sense to them. Then to come to this kind of situation and to be able to say, I'm sorry, we can't do this. Then I have to spend the capital. It's like you earn the capital and then you spend it. Having established trust, a data scientist joins an analysis project at different stages depending on the client's needs. One common sentiment among our participants was that they felt that they were parachuting into a foreign environment whose constraints had already been established before they joined, so they needed to orient themselves before starting the technical analysis work. P1 has over 10 years of experience playing different data science roles in medical research and healthcare settings. Here she describes the ideal case of being brought in early. When my client would ask me for things, it would range from, we need you to design this study, to we need you to help define the research question, to we need you to make this figure because we want to put this figure in a journal paper, or hey, can you do this reanalysis because reviewer 2 wanted this reanalysis. The main upfront conversation that a data scientist must have with clients in this case is to help them with managing expectations about their desired technique. Here, P8 said, I feel like people have overhyped data science, artificial intelligence. These words, I hate even using them now because people expect very glamorous sorts of results. Here, P9 says that I recall one instance of someone saying, like, I have all this data and I want to show that it's significant. And I had to have moments of being like, well, they're very significant because you spend all this time running experiments, collecting that. They're very meaningful, but let's maybe unpack what that means. What P9 means by significant here is that he is reassuring the client that there is probably something meaningful that can come out of this data, although he cannot guarantee any specific set of results. There's a delicate balance between giving the client emotional reassurance that their efforts in collecting the data has been worthwhile, and also setting realistic expectations that real-world data is messy and incomplete, so they cannot guarantee any desired outcomes. All 10 data scientists that we interviewed engaged in problem framing conversations before starting analysis work, which is akin to a practice that professional designers engage in, where they question the client's initial assumptions and brainstorm with them to get at their underlying issue. P1 explains how even a seemingly simple request for one data value can lead to a detailed back and forth conversation as she tries to understand what the client really wants. Here she says, I'll get a random message from someone saying, hey, do you know what this number is? And I'll say, maybe, let's say yes, I do know what that number is, but tell me, why are you asking? Is there a bigger problem I can help solve? Are you having conversations that are going to lead to more projects later? Or does this reflect the fact that you don't have immediate access to this number? There's always a question under the question, right? Bridging work occurs in two directions: the data scientist teaching the client about technical analysis methods, and the data scientist getting the client to teach them about the target domain. P10 mentioned calibrating expectations as another benefit of this bridging work. I can talk multiple languages when I talk to different people. And I think that in a lot of situations, there's also the scenario where people might not know as much about data science, right? So if they don't know the language, some of the basics, then they might have unrealistic expectations. So that's also part of my vision, is setting realistic expectations. Half of the participants we interviewed mentioned the word magic when describing how their clients perceive their work without any specific prompting from the interviewer. P4, who works at a research-driven medical center, took pride in his work with doctors, but also pointed out how little insight those doctors have into the data analysis process. Here he says, usually a lot of them are clinicians, like grateful physicians, who essentially think you do magic, right? They don't know how you do it, they're never going to figure out how you do it, and they're just like, that's amazing, do more. Also without prompting, many of our participants mentioned doing some informal counseling during result presentation meetings to help clients cope with unfavorable results. Here, P9 recounted his experience doing counseling, playing therapy, to reassure a client of the soundness of his results when the client had different field-specific norms. And there's definitely also like a tension of field-specific expectations or norms and your principles or values as an outside consultant or analyst. And then it gets manifested as like, my analyst did something wrong, or they didn't do what I told them. And then you just sort of feel like you're playing therapy with them, trying to reason out why what you did is actually okay. So there are two main implications for this socio-emotional workflow. The first is that relationship building and maintenance with clients is made up of many systematized interactions that are common and repeated both during an individual data scientist's career. Data scientists provide social emotional infrastructure, interpersonal scaffolding that data scientists are expected to provide for clients. A major purpose for providing this infrastructure is to avoid dysfunction and encourage better practices throughout an analysis. And second, we notice that many of the conversations and behaviors our participants described run parallel to the kinds of design processes that have been studied by ethnographers of design. Data scientists need to reconcile many competing interests, including the client's ambitions for a project, the limitations of available data sources, and constraints about time and resources available to work on an analysis. Data scientists and designers draw upon a repertoire of examples from past projects that they creatively adapt to new challenges. In future work, we'd like to adapt some of the lessons learned from creating digital tools for designers to see how those insights could be applied to tools for data scientists.